Yep, this is how we come out of the Sandton Convention Centre, where the mayoral nominees of the ANC have been announced there. President Cyril Ramaphosa also giving a background in terms of what they expect from the nominees, and earlier on talking about the fact that as South Africans we probably should not take these elections for granted, because these were a source of the struggle. There were people that fought for the rights of South Africans to vote, and therefore South Africans must also take advantage of the upcoming local government elections on the 4th of November. You also spoke about how the ANC wants to continue to deliver services to the people of this country, saying that it is the ANC that delivered services over the last 30 years, water, electricity, but also saying that it is the same ANC that must acknowledge that there are problems of dwindling infrastructure, potholes, lack of water provision and all of that. And the president there saying that all of these challenges must be confronted, and the ANC must own up to these particular challenges. And of course, names have been bandied about, names of those that are nominees as well. Names like Andile Lungisa in the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality, a very controversial politician, very opposed to, at least in some quarters, might be viewed as one of the ANC members who came out publicly to oppose the choice of the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, at that particular time. But we also saw Mandla Mandela, King Sabata, Dalindyebo municipality as one of those that are part of the three nominated in that particular municipality. And if you want to come to the province of Gauteng, I mean, the Ekurhuleni municipality packed up, the city of Johannesburg, the Chikani's name, Reverend Chikani's name coming up. There were doubts, with some reports at some point suggesting that he decided to stay out of this particular race. And the city of Tshwane as well, with all the popular names there being mentioned. City of Polokwane, a bit of a surprise. Former provincial secretary of the ANC, Soviet Lekhanyani, who's also the chairperson of the ad hoc committee in Parliament, announced as one of the candidates for the city of Polokwane. But to unpack all of this, we are joined by political analyst Brutus Malada, who joins us on the line. Brutus, thank you so much for joining us. First and foremost, what do you make of the announcement today? Some of us, first and foremost, were under the impression that we are going to be given a list of candidates, but as they would do in sports, we were given a preliminary list or a preliminary squad in sporting language.
Yeah, good afternoon. I think this was a damn squib, to be brutally honest. The announcement for the media was that there will be an announcement on the candidates. For the ANC to turn around and then say that they are going to give us the preliminary squad, it says something about some internal problems. And I think this is crisis management. There must have been a lot of disagreement on some of the candidates, and it means that maybe they have not yet finalized that process. Hence, they had to change and decide to announce everybody. I mean, what is magical about September? If you're already in an election, in a full steam election season, I don't see it enhancing the campaign to have another media conference to announce who the successful candidate is. For me, I think they are managing a crisis. Here, there is fear of sabotage, that people who may not make it to the top may not necessarily campaign for the successful candidates. And I think that is what the ANC is trying to manage. You would recall that it once happened in Tshwane, where the ANC imposed Toko Didiza to be the candidate for Tshwane, and the people of Tshwane, the ANC people of Tshwane rejected her. And I think this is what they are trying to manage. I think the ANC is clearly struggling to conclude this process.
The president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, says there was a thorough process in terms of the selection, and the interviews were very rigorous, and they are convinced that all of those that came through for interviews are people with the necessary qualifications, the experience, and all of that. But when you look at the list, I don't know if this is important, but this is something that I've noted, is that depending on which municipality, you would find that the numbers are not equal of the nominees. You know, somewhere in the Free State, there's 8 for one municipality. In other municipalities, 4, 3. I don't know if that is of significance, but it comes across as if the process itself is not standardized. Perhaps there's another explanation to it, but is it something notable, at least on your end?
It is notable, and I think it feeds or it adds to the theory that I am trying to explain, that there is something that the ANC is not telling us. And indeed, the process would not have been standardized if in the other municipality you end up with 8 shortlisted, vetted, whatsoever they call it. And in the case of the city of Johannesburg, you have got 3. What is different between Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg? So it shows that there is something that the ANC is not telling the public. And I think that they are trying to manage the divisions in the region. You would understand that some of the candidates are regional chairpersons where they are standing. And there are people like Chikane who are not necessarily in the regional executive committee of the ANC. And then you have got Emasuku, who feels entitled because tradition has been that the chairperson of the region becomes the mayoral candidate. And she was even the first one to ascend to the stage, even when her name was mentioned as the second candidate. So for me, I think that it's something notable that the process was not standardized. And if it was standardized, they could have easily said, these are the top 4 that we have shortlisted, and it becomes standard for every municipality. So it's clear that there might be brewing problems and challenges in different regions on how to manage the factional divisions that may exist in those regions.
Talking about factional divisions, I mean, some are of the view that potentially this announcement of candidates, particularly in regions where there has been destabilization from within the ANC itself. I mean, the city of Ekurhuleni is one such example. This approach may actually deepen those divisions and deepen the effects of factionalism within the ANC. Is that perhaps something that you think the ANC overlooked?
I think that is what they are actually trying to manage instead of overlooking. And hence, they are postponing the announcement of the successful candidate to September. Because you can imagine if what happened to Toko Didiza was to happen in Ekurhuleni, where certain factional groups are going to say that we're not going on the campaign trail, we are not supportive of this particular candidate, then you will have a problem that the campaign won't take off and the ANC stands to lose if it is divided going into an election such as this. This will be a seriously contested election. Look in the city of Johannesburg, where the DA has put a Helen Zille, and you also have Action SA with Herman Mashaba, Rise Mzansi with I forgot his name, but you realize that Joburg is seriously contested. Now, if parties, that is what they are doing, the ANC will have to field a candidate that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the candidates that the other parties have mentioned. It's Lukona Mnguni for Rise Mzansi, for instance, who was a political analyst. So he's a known face, he's a known face in the media, and his campaign has taken off. Announcing their candidate late makes the ANC to be running late, actually, because it's important for the mayoral candidate to internalize the campaign themselves and be able to, to talk to the public with confidence that this is the person that will actually take over should the people give their confidence, full confidence in that candidate. So for the ANC to be delaying, they are actually not doing any favor to their own campaign. They are actually delaying. I think that it works best. The earliest bird catches the fattest worm. And you've seen the campaign by Helen Zille, it's full steam. The campaign by Razim Zanzi, Lukona Mnguni, is full steam. The campaign by Hemen Mashaba is full steam. So for the candidate now to be announced in September and to be countering some of the campaigns that we've seen by other political parties, it may be too late.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something that is going to be dealt with internally within the ANC, but I found what was missing to be an explanation that says this is how we are going to select the victor out of all the nominees that are vying for these mayoral positions. It's something that really did not come out, because the ANC on the one hand says the selection process also involves communities in particular. It's not only the domain of the ANC itself, but the communities will also take part. So you would have thought that an occasion like this, beamed live on television, will also come with an explanation of some sort to say we have a clear process in terms of getting to the point where we decide on the candidate that would have made it through.
Yeah, you are right. That is what you would have expected if they are giving us a short list. And perhaps even to extend the process to the communities to say, these are the candidates. We want to hear what you say in the region of Johannesburg, in Tshwane. Who do you prefer among the four that we have selected? And then let the public participate in that process, and the outcome then becomes the final announcement. It would have made sense if that was the process. But to say these are the 8 in Ekurhuleni, or these are the 8 in Buffalo City or whatsoever, without explaining what then becomes the next step. What I heard, it's as if Fikile Mbalula was saying that the process has been concluded. We are only going to announce later in September. Then you ask yourself as to why then have this session today? Could they not have just had the announcement once and for all and only announced the successful candidate? And I think that it explains that there must be something that they do not want to share with the public, which is that they are managing the factional divisions that are so rife in ANC politics.
I remember last year in September, the ANC in Nazareth hosting one of the biggest meetings. They called it the roll call meetings, where they spoke about challenges in municipalities and where they spoke about what they need to do. I mean, part of what they announced, among others, was that every 3 months there will be a report, comprehensive report, clear targets that need to be adhered to and delivered when it comes to infrastructure development, water, and all of that. And then after that big meeting, there was a bit of a silence with regards to those particular big announcements. And here we are today with the president of the ANC highlighting exactly the same challenges that besiege different municipalities where the ANC has got footprint. Tell us what that means in terms of getting the electorate to trust the ANC, because the impression that was given was that even the communities will be given feedback as to these major developments. And in all fairness, one cannot literally say there hasn't been improvements and developments. They've just paid back Eskom about 5 billion rands, which is a big deal. But interestingly enough, tomorrow they are going to launch their manifesto in Diepsloot. Like many other municipalities, there are many challenges there. But there seems to have been no link between that big meeting and the announcement today, with the manifesto taking place in a place ravaged by so many challenges.
The big announcement that was made at that Lekgotla was also that the president of the ANC suggested that the ANC needed to go to Cape Town to learn from what the DA is doing, why they are successful in this good governance record that they have. And we have not had anything as to the follow-up to that. And the ANC is very good at making these big announcements and then hope that the people would have forgotten. And unfortunately, that's what has created a trust deficit that exists today between the leaders and the communities in which they are experiencing all this service delivery collapse and the decay that is so rife. Now, you can't win the confidence of the public if you make promises that you cannot fulfill, and that's exactly what has been happening with the ANC. Now, with the choice of Deep Slot to launch the campaign, I think it's just symbolic. The people of Deep Slot should not expect that there will be any prioritization whatsoever, because if you look at the launches that the ANC have done in the past, it doesn't necessarily translate into the prioritization of such an area. They want to win the plight of those people by giving them false hope, and yet they won't do any follow-up afterwards. So it has happened over the years, and then we have this serious crisis of disillusionment and people not coming out in their numbers to vote because they feel that politicians come to make this big announcement and nothing is followed up. You would remember there is even a department national called monitoring and evaluation. We have not had any reports as to what is it that they have found in their monitoring of municipalities and what do they suggest should be done to improve service delivery. So yes, we were given hope that with the establishment of such a department, we'll start to see ministers and mayors, being held accountable by their own government, by their own executive. But we have not had anything of that sort. The department exists, but nobody knows what has been happening with such.
Yeah.
It created a hope and fanfare when it was announced, but there is nothing to show today.
Aren't society, and I suppose ourselves as the media, sometimes unfair on the ANC? Because even in municipalities where there is a coalition government, which comprises of other political parties and other political parties occupying influential MMC positions, people still attribute their failures to the ANC. It's happening in Tshwane, it's happening in the city of Johannesburg in the main, where people say, no, but this is the ANC. Where, in the city of Johannesburg, for instance, you would have had a DA in control, which did not achieve much. In the city of Tshwane, you would have a DA in control, which, some would argue never achieved much. But when we speak about failures in general, it is attributed solely to the ANC.
The ANC has been in power for 30 years plus. And in those municipalities that you are mentioning, they have been in control of those municipalities for years. The era of coalition only started in 2016. And in the case of Johannesburg, you had the changing of mayors. We have had, I think, about 10 mayors in a space of 10 years. Now, majority of those mayors came from the ANC. You had a Tapelo. You also had a Guamanda there. Those people were installed with the support of the ANC. So the ANC should not be shielded from the blame. They have participated and contributed to the instability that we have witnessed in the city of Johannesburg.
All right.
In Tshwane, Yes, the DA has been in charge, but we now know that it is the agreement between Action SA and the ANC that has installed an Action SA mayor in the city of Tshwane. So if there are any success or if there are any failures, they should be attributed to the ANC. It has contributed to the existing government in the city of Tshwane.
All right, Brutus, let's leave it at that. Thank you, sir, for your time and your insight. He's a political analyst and political strategist. His name is Brutus Malada. They're talking to us about the announcement of the nominees for the positions of the mayor positions in various municipalities taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre, and it is the ANC that is presiding over.